Paramahansa Parivajik Aswatar Siddha Shri Shri Mad. His divine grace, Abhaya Charanara Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shiva Prabhupada Ki. Anantikara Vaishnava Vrinda Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridasa Thakur Ki. Founder charge of Iskcon Srila Prabhupada Ki. Iskcon Guru Vrinda Ki. Reigns the host Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda, Siyadvaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinatha Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki. Jamuna Mai Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulasi Rani Ki. Shri Vrindavana Dhama Ki, Shri Navadvip Maya Pradama Ki. Shri Purushottama Kshetra Jagannatha Paridama Ki. Shambhera Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Brihat Mridanga Ki. Shri Shri Harinama Sankirtan Jagya Ki. Jugadharma Shri Hari Krishna Mahamantra Ki. Shri Shri Radhanila Madhava Ki. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Ji Ki. Shri Shri Giriraja Govardhana Ki. Shri Shri Nitai Chaitanya Chandra Ki. Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Chandra Ki. Shri Shri Hare Krishna Dhamma Ki. Gaura Premanande Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gaura Anga. Krishna, Krishna, Ram, Ram. Please deliver from Bhumi Dham.
To reread the verse, I have no idea what it was. I mid that end of the, because you read several, and I had no idea where I was.
I think I was like that.
Not you.
Okay. Righty tighty, lefty loosey, except that they tried to download my script.
Yes. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Agyantamarandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschatadeshatarane Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanyebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Good morning. As Krishna Kripa Prabhu has said to me just a moment ago, we do have a very nice verse this morning. I was looking forward to. Is this on? I don't want to have to lean forward, Thank you. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, the Summum Bonum, Chapter 86, Arjuna kidnaps Subhadra and Krishna blesses his devotees. We're at text 51 this morning, and we'll do 51 and 52 together and hear a little bit from Srila Prabhupada out of the Bhagavad Gita and out of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. on the spiritual master, the place of the spiritual master. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Brahmamste nugrahartaya. Sampraptan vidyamun munin. Sancharanti maya lokan. Punata pararenubi. Brahmamste nugrahartaya. Sampraptan vidyamun munin. Sancharanti maya lokan. Punanta pararenubihi. Please chant. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Brahmamste nugrahartaya. Sampraptan vidyamun manin. Sancharanti maya lo. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Supreme Lord said, Brahman, O Brahmana, te, your, anugraha, of bestowing benedictions, artaya, for the purpose, sampraptan, come, vidhi, you should know, amun, these, munin, sages, sancharanti, they wander. Maya, together with me. Lokan, all the worlds. Punantaha, purifying. Pada, of their feet. Renubihi, with the dust. Translation and purports by the servants of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear Brahmana, you should know that these great sages have come here just to bless you. They travel throughout the worlds with me, purifying them with the dust of their feet." Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that Lord Krishna thought Shrutadev had shown too much reverence to him and not enough to the sages. And thus he turned the Brahmanas or Shrutadev's attention to them, to the sages. 52. One can gradually become purified by seeing, touching, and worshiping temple deities, places of pilgrimage, and holy rivers. But one can attain the same result immediately simply by receiving the glance of exalted sages. Purport. Rather than remaining in seclusion and concentrating on their own perfection, Vaishnava Brahmanas of the highest order dedicate their lives to sharing the benediction of the Lord's devotional service. In the words of the sons of Prachinabarhi, King Prachinabarhi, "Dear Lord, your personal associates, your devotees, wander all over the world to purify even the holy places of pilgrimage. Is not such activity pleasing to those who are actually afraid of material existence?" That's Srimad Bhagavatam 4:30-37. And Prahlad Maharaj says, "My dear Lord Nrsingadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrat. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone. Leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals, I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet." And that's Srimad Bhagavatam 7:9-44. Jai Prabhupada. Prahlad, yes, Jai Prahlad. Then out of chapter 4, thank you. Thank you. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, and text 34. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. And as we just heard from the previous verse, they actually are accompany the Lord himself walking through this world. Once you see the truth, you don't unsee it. Read the next one. I was going to read the purport, and then I can read the next verse, yes. Or I'll sandwich it in between. Text 35. Having obtained real knowledge from a self-realized soul, you will never fall again into such illusion. For by this knowledge you will see that all living beings are but a part of the Supreme, or in other words, that they are mine. Purport by His Divine Grace. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Purport. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path. Nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. I want to read that one again. If you catch anything, catch this. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master. And when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. We just heard from Lord Krishna himself, speaking of the sages, these spiritual masters of humanity and of the planetary systems as a whole that were traveling with him, that these are those types of Vaishnavas, genuine Vaishnavas, that have as their greatest concern not just their own process of spiritual realization, but that they are concerned for the spiritual realization of all of humanity and really of all living entities, not just human beings, but all living entities. And they spill buckets of blood, actually, our spiritual masters, our gurus, many of whom are disciples directly of Srila Prabhupada, who also spilled buckets of blood, as it were, figuratively, to bring us the truth out of great compassion. And these are very strong words, actually. There are those today, and maybe in every age, but I know that it tends to be prominent, especially in the West and America at this time, and the air that we breathe in our society is, this is my truth, man, this kind of thing. We each have our own truth, and you never want to step on anybody's toes in terms of their truth and their way, and this is my reality. This is actually the makings of real insanity, actually, to think that one has his own truth, his own reality. Well, why is this important that we have a spiritual master and that we learn to be submissive and that we learn to inquire and to serve, to have the service attitude, and to try to please the spiritual master? Well, there are, on the one hand, several objective reasons within ourselves that make this necessary. Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas tell us, and the Shastra tells us, that we have 4 basic flaws that make having a self-realized person to show us that the truth makes it necessary. And that is that our senses are imperfect. And as a result of imperfect senses, we are illusioned. And because we are illusioned, we cheat and make mistakes. Or I should maybe flip those around. We make mistakes, and because we make mistakes, then we cheat. We have a tendency to cheat. So, is there anybody here who doesn't have those 4 flaws? So I was going to come and submit to you so you could be my spiritual master. So, well, we all have these defects, and this is what makes the idea of my truth or my understanding really quite absurd. Actually, it's absurd. It's absurd. In any area of life, if you want to know something, let's say you want to become a first-class neurosurgeon, You can't just go to the library and get a stack of books on medicine and anatomy and neurosurgery and go home and study them, even if you were to study them for lifetimes. You're never going to be a neurosurgeon until you actually are trained by someone, first of all, in the basics of medicine, who is and has been a practitioner of that type of medicine, and more specifically learned from someone who is a master neurosurgeon. In every area of life, this is necessary. Can you imagine if we didn't have our parents show us how to use our hands and to walk and how to eat properly, especially in public, and how to have manners and how to treat other people in the way that we desire to be treated, all the things that our parents taught us. Can you imagine if we didn't get taught those things, what it would be like? Just look at America today. And you can see evidence of this beginning to unfold in our society. So everything, even on a mundane platform, is learned by disciplic succession, is learned by the handing down. We learn within our culture and in specific cultures throughout the world. You learn how to operate within that culture by being raised up in that culture by people who are a part of that culture. And all the nuances of that culture wind up getting ingrained in the child and then in the adult after they grow up, just by being in that atmosphere and being raised by a particular set of parents in a particular city, in a particular place, right? All this is on the mundane platform, and it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, we would be entirely ignorant. We come into life certainly having lived past lives, but because of our conditioning, we completely lose our memory of past lives. So you can't rely on you can't really rely on the past in terms of past lives for your learning and education, and probably what you had in your past life is from a different time, place, could be even from a different planetary system. It wouldn't work. So you have to learn, because you come into life completely forgetting, having no memory, almost like a blank slate, except for you have desires and so forth that are carried over from your previous life. Desires, karmic reactions, and certain propensities that are carried over. But the memory is not carried over. So on a mundane level even, we must learn how much more on a spiritual level, being conditioned by the material energy and having these 4 defects that we discussed, how much more necessary it is to have a spiritual master, someone who actually has followed their spiritual master to the point of actually seeing the truth. Our process is a process primarily of knowledge through purification. Knowledge through purification. In other words, we go through a process of purifying ourselves of the material covering that takes away our memory, our spiritual memory. And as a result of that purification and the removal of our material conditioning, we no longer have 4 defects. And therefore we can have perfect recall of our spiritual memory. Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki. We can have complete and total recall of our spiritual energy, or spiritual memory, as a result of purification. So, the only way to go through this process of purification and to do so without being influenced by those 4 defects is to find someone that has already been through the process at the teaching of their spiritual master, who did the same thing from their spiritual master, going back all the way to the Lord himself. But we have to find someone who's actually inclined to give us the truth. And in order to do that, we actually have to desire the truth. And if we actually desire the truth, then we're going to be looking and searching for someone that can actually show us that truth. What I'd like to do at this point is to switch over to the CC and to speak from there for a little bit. And then we'll leave some time for discussion afterwards, because the Adi Lila, chapter 1 on the spiritual masters, actually, Srila Prabhupada in those purports says better than I could ever say it. And he's the one with the empowerment. He's the one that actually speaks from perfect sight. He is one of those sages, as it were, that sees the truth and can speak infallibly on the truth. So if you'd like to follow along, this is from the Adi Lila, chapter 1, beginning at text 34. This is Krishnadas Kaviraj, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is writing, and Srila Prabhupada giving the purports. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Purport. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has composed this Sanskrit verse for the beginning of his book, and now he will explain it in detail. He offers his respectful obeisances to the 6 principles of the Absolute Truth. Gurun is plural in number, because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on the revealed scriptures is accepted as a spiritual master. Although others give help in showing the way to beginners, the guru, the spiritual master, who first initiates one with the Maha Mantra, is to be known as the initiator. And the saints who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters. The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and identical manifestations of Krishna, although they have different dealings. Their function is to guide the conditioned souls back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami accepted Nityananda Prabhu and the 6 Goswamis in the category of Guru. Text 35. I offer my respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual master and all my instructing spiritual masters. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami, in his thesis, Bhakti Sandarbha 202, has stated that uncontaminated devotional service is the objective of pure Vaishnavas, and that one has to execute such service in the association of other devotees. By associating with devotees of Lord Krishna, one develops a sense of Krishna consciousness and thus becomes inclined toward the loving service of the Lord. This is the process of approaching the Supreme Lord by gradual appreciation in devotional service. If one desires unalloyed devotional service, one must associate with devotees of Sri Krishna. For by such association only can a conditioned soul achieve a taste for transcendental love and thus revive his eternal relationship with Godhead in a specific manifestation and in terms of the specific transcendental mellow or rasa that one has eternally inherent in him. Shri Shri Radhanila Madhava Ki. If one develops love for Krishna by Krishna-conscious activities, one can know the supreme absolute truth. But he who tries to understand God simply by logical arguments will not succeed, nor will he get a taste for unalloyed devotion. The secret, and this is what Srila Prabhupada was saying in Bhagavad Gita that we just read, the secret is that one must submissively listen to those who know perfectly the science of Godhead, and one must begin the mode of service regulated by the preceptor. A devotee already attracted by the name, form, qualities, and so on of the Supreme Lord may be directed to his specific manner of devotional service. He need not waste time in approaching the Lord through logic. Remember, we talked about those 4 defects. This is what makes logic absolutely impossible. You can't go through a mental process and come to know the absolute truth, because every time you try that method, you're dealing with a brain and a mind, a material mind that has these 4 defects in it. So you're starting with your car has sugar water in the gas tank. You're not going to get anywhere. You have to start from the right place, and that is someone who actually sees and knows the truth and has a pure heart. And you actually get that person's favor and their pleasure and their mercy by pleasing them, by serving them, by taking their association, asking questions. Devotional service is the process by which we serve the Supreme Lord, where we regain our sense of Krishna consciousness and service to the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord comes to us in 2 different ways. He comes to us within our hearts as the Guru within, the Chaitya Guru within. But because we are covered over, it's almost impossible for us to rightly discern the Lord within our hearts. So then he comes to us through the person of the spiritual master. He actually comes, literally comes to us in the person of the spiritual master. And therefore, the exchange that we are having with this person by submitting to them, learning from them, inquiring from them, serving them, that service is actually being offered to the Lord by that spiritual master. And then Krishna is talking to you through that person. They become what's called a transparent via media, a transparent window through which the conditioned soul can see Krishna and hear Krishna, and through which Krishna can talk to that person, and also through which the devotee can tangibly offer service. We hear here Srila Prabhupada talking about doing the specific service that's given by your preceptor. In other words, the spiritual master, once he sees that a person has a taste from associating with them, a taste for Krishna and Krishna consciousness and devotional service is developed. And once the spiritual master sees that that taste is being developed, he'll actually begin to give types of services to that person based upon their propensities and their level of intelligence, their level of realization, and so forth. This is actually Krishna himself working through that transparent via medium and telling that conditioned soul, this is what I want you to do for me. How many would like to have Krishna tell you exactly what he wants you to do? So, it's very simple. Krishna comes to you through the person of the spiritual master, whether it be your initiating guru, your Diksha guru, or whether it be someone within the community or within Iskcon on a larger scale that you are attracted to and you want to learn from and glean from and serve. Most of us, if we've been around a while, we have people like that in our lives. So it is inherently necessary in this process for you to try to see Krishna himself coming to you through this person, to actually even just in the beginning to just acquiesce to that idea that the Shastra tells you that Krishna comes to you personally through the person of the Guru, through the person of the Sadhu, through the person of the self-realized sage, the self-realized Vaishnava. And as that relationship develops and your taste for serving Krishna in that person develops, to inquire and to have that person actually give you specific service to do. There are 6 loving exchanges that are given to us by Rupa Goswami in his Nectar of Instruction. And they are the warp and woof of how we relate to the Lord's pure devotees. There's the giving and taking of charity, actually coming and serving a person as a menial servant, coming and cooking for them and cleaning for them and doing tasks for the self-realized soul, trying to gain their pleasure, actually seeing that as I'm serving this person, I'm actually offering service to Lord Krishna, to a form of Lord Krishna. The form of the spiritual master is a form of Lord Krishna. When we serve that form, we're serving Lord Krishna. And then that person says, it'd be a really good idea if you go and distribute books with the brahmacharis. Or it'd be a really great idea if you were to go help in the kitchen, cooking for the deities. Or it would be a really good idea for you to take second initiation and serve the deities, whatever it is. There are so many things that need to be done within a community, and there's a place for everyone. There's always things to be done. But you don't want to act or you don't want to go about it whimsically. You actually want to find out from someone who is bona fide and can actually represent Krishna in your life, and to find out from that person how you should serve. It's actually Krishna telling you what he wants you to do. And then you go about those tasks. You go about doing your sadhana in the way your chanting of Hare Krishna, your reading of the books, your attendance upon the temple services, the actual service or seva or work that you're offering within a temple community or outside the temple community, depends on what the spiritual master gives you. You do that work in a state of Krishna consciousness with the understanding that this is what Krishna has given me to do, and then you offer it back to Krishna through that person. Gurudev, this is what I accomplished today. This is what I accomplished this week. You sent me out to do such and such and such and such, and these were my experiences, and I'm having these realizations. But now these questions have come up, and you inquire some more. And the deeper that you go into this relationship with a guru, again, whether it be your Diksha or Shiksha guru, whether it be someone who's going to initiate you or has initiated you, or whether it be another person that you're really drawn to, even though maybe you've received Diksha from another person. Some Diksha gurus aren't tremendously available because they actually initiate as a service. They initiate so many thousands of disciples. So some people actually need to seek outside of their Diksha guru for this relationship. But we should never say, well, my Diksha guru is too busy, therefore, you fill in the therefore, you know what that therefore means. It means, I can only have access to my guru so much. But this is not true. This is why Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that both the Diksha guru and the Shiksha guru are equal manifestations of Lord Krishna. So if you don't have access to your Diksha guru, find someone that's bona fide, that has self-realization to a point that they can actually represent the truth to you. Serve that person. Try to please their senses. Do you want to please Krishna's senses? Anybody here want to please Krishna's senses? So, if you'll please the senses of your spiritual master, whether you call him spiritual master or guru, it's that person that you go to for instruction and that you serve, and that you're gaining a taste for Krishna through that person. Try to please their senses. Do things for them. Cook for them. Clean for them. Do their laundry. Find some way that you can serve them and please them. And just their glance, it says in our verses today, actually in text 52 we read, just their glance, just their favorable glance, just their smile can give you the same benefit as touching the deities and serving the deities, can give you the same benefit as going to a holy river and bathing in it, can give you the same benefit as taking a pilgrimage to some holy place. Just their glance. There are those of you who have experienced this tangibly, and it would be nice to hear from you this morning, your experiences with this process. I can tell you from personal experience it works. I am a stubborn man who really likes sense gratification. I can tell you that. My taste for it is going away. My taste for serving Krishna and serving my guru is becoming much greater. But that's the world that I come from, right? And I can tell you that the mercy of guru is delivering me, has delivered me, and is delivering me from my material conditioning. So that which we cannot do for ourselves, by trying to please Krishna directly, we can get from a pure devotee. We can gain the mercy of a pure devotee, and their favorable glance, their smile, their look that says, wow, I'm really pleased with you. That will put so much spiritual wind in your sails, you will not believe that you're the same person. Trust me. With that, I'd like to open it up. We've only got a few more minutes, but basically that was content that I wanted to deliver this morning, but I wanted to hear from you all, especially maybe some of you more senior devotees, your experiences with Guru, or a reflection, something that you heard, actually from anyone this morning, but those of you that have had an experience with Guru that you'd like to share, we would love to hear it. A reflection is anything that you heard this morning that is going to stick with you or has stuck with you or has struck you, that you feel that everyone can benefit from or that you'll benefit from. Of course, questions are always good too. But reflections. Sarvabhauma.
sometimes it's not easy to serve a guru, but it's very healthy, spiritually healthy, and my spiritual master wanted us to do different kinds of sankirtan. Some were direct and some were indirect. So it was difficult to do both direct and indirect. So in some ways the indirect preaching was more difficult, but just by trying to please the spiritual master, it helps any disciple give up the I, me, and my, consciousness, and the Vedic culture itself, the children would offer dandavats to their parents, to their grandparents. The culture itself was very rich, and it still is very rich in the idea of seva. So having a living spiritual master also helps us not just speculate, because to understand the scriptures on our own is not always possible. We may concoct or misunderstand, so to have a living spiritual master to correct us and to have that process of pari prashanena sevaya, of inquiry and service. It's not just some nice thing, but it's essential to have. And as you said, our initiating spiritual master may not always be available, but there may be other opportunities to serve or hear from senior devotees that would help us develop a service attitude and proper understanding also.
Very nice. So I want to emphasize a couple of things that you said, and that is that this is not just a nice thing, it's a necessity, it's essential. That as long as you're going at it alone and trying to do it yourself without a relationship with a pure devotee or someone who is has at least some level of realization where you're not going to get their own foolishness, you'll get the straight content. It's necessary, and it cannot be. The other thing is that it cannot be. It has to be someone that you actually have a relationship with. You can't say, well, I have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. And, well, that's wonderful. We all have a relationship with Srila Prabhupada. But that is not what Prabhupada and our acharyas mean by having a relationship with a spiritual master. Well, we can serve him. We can inquire. We have his books. But and this is okay, this is a part of it, but to actually have a physical person who is present, it's essential. It's absolutely essential. You may not have all that much contact with them. I know for a fact that many of our spiritual masters within Iskcon, even though Srila Prabhupada is no longer here, they do this for each other. They actually have relationships with each other. And certain ones have chosen to take, a surrender to, as it were, their god brothers, certain of their god brothers. So it's those that are the most advanced within our society actually walk this out in practice, even though their spiritual master, their initial spiritual master, is no longer here. They walk it out in practice. That's how important it is. Anyone else? Sarva.
One of the things that one time Tamal Krishna said that if you're serving the deity and you have the wrong mentality or do something that's not ideal, we're not that advanced that we can hear the deity correct us. But if we have a living person who's our well-wisher, who's Krishna conscious, their feedback can be very helpful to us.
Yes. Yes. So even when we, Shri Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki, even when we, those of us that have second initiation and serve on the altar and serve the deities on the altar, actually the truth of the matter is that we aren't serving the deity directly. We serve through the medium of our spiritual master. And if you'll notice, if you've never noticed before, when you look up on the altar, you'll see that the pujari who's currently serving has a picture of his spiritual master on the altar, and will first seek a blessing sometimes for each of the elements, for each of the items of worship, and ask for the spiritual master to bless them to do the incense and the lamp and so forth. So that's right. We don't even, those of us who are pujaris don't even serve the deities directly. We're serving on behest of our spiritual master. So, anyone else? For some people, this is a terrifying prospect, and I understand it. To open up your life to another human being, maybe you have experienced a life where pretty much anyone you got close to disappointed you. This happens in our world. But don't project that onto all of your relationships. Try to make some distinction. And take some risks. Take some risks. Seek out someone that you can really, you feel you can trust to a certain degree, and begin the process. And it may take you a while to gain up courage and confidence. Faithfulness over time breeds trust. And that goes both ways in any relationship. Faithfulness over time breeds trust. If you can find someone and go about the process of serving them, submissively serving them and inquiring, over time they will learn to trust you, and vice versa. Over time you will learn to trust them. And as that trust and respect grows, the intimacy grows. As the intimacy grows, our Krishna consciousness grows. Yes, Prabhu.
Just to accentuate some of the things that you said, you described these 4 defects. So everyone should pretty much approach the process of Krishna consciousness as your damaged goods. Now, there's a trick and a trap to that, in that everybody else is too. So we have to maintain that humble position, that because of my defects, I am having difficulty accepting someone else's realizations or instructions or this, that, and the other. Particularly that we have imperfect senses. We hear what we want to hear. Mm-hmm. We see what we want to see. Mm-hmm. And therefore it clouds our realizations by being able to simply accept them. As Krishnadas Kaviraj says, read this literature or hear this literature without argument and with full faith. That's how we absorb the Shastra.
Yes.
Whether you have that or not, that's how we approach it.
Yes.
So we all come in with these defects, and we have to just let them be and strive to rise above them through the proper instructions. Because I've seen in the 40 years or so that I've been trying to be Krishna conscious, that society itself is degraded exponentially to what I grew up with. And therefore everyone comes in pretty much psychologically damaged.
Yes.
through overt sense gratification, complete nonchalance in sinful activities, that it's all okay, we're all good people, and whatever, and just the amount of desperation people exhibit in the execution and acquiring of sense gratification. We come in practically tortured, as opposed to that little bit of innocence that was still left in the 60s and the 70s. And there was some, but that's gone. And we have to be very careful in social media that we don't get bewildered by what's happening there. I mean, you can go to social media and you can hear all sorts of people expounding all sorts of just nonsense, but in a very nice way. And they smile and they say this. I mean, we had to factually go to these people in my day in order to hear the nonsense.
Yes.
But nobody has to go anywhere except click a page, move a little further. And anything we bring up, there are many, many, many demonic personalities who are already there waiting for us, just to bewilder us. It's much more complicated now in being able to endeavor to the simplicity of simply surrendering to the spiritual master, because they have surrendered to their spiritual master, because they have surrendered to their spiritual master. I mean, these acharyas we keep on our back wall here and on at the lotus feet of Krishna all came here at a specific time to empower a specific situation to take place. And Srila Prabhupada, in particular, took this mercy to the world and gave it freely. So even if we're having difficulties with any other situation within this process or within this movement specifically, go back to these acharyas and know that they are the ones that this is happening by and for and extending beyond them. So it's very, very important also, I think, that we keep track of our history of the Vaishnava Siddhanta, the acharyas going back into our sampradaya, the personalities that were there within our own Vaishnava Siddhanta. We are the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnava Sampradaya, and there are personalities who come from every walk of life and have ultimately obtained perfection in Krishna consciousness. In spite of the opulence they have, in spite of the degradation of their birth, in spite of the abominable activities they perform, in spite of all these things, they attain perfection and are therefore their birth and disappearance are both equally glorified. Their birth for what they've given, their departure for what they've left behind, to enliven all of us. None of them came undamaged either. I mean, even we know so many personalities came with Lord Chaitanya, with Krishna. But in between those periods, there were other great souls. And they came through the process of devotional service. And they attained perfection through the process of devotional service. And the last piece of the purport, and I quote this all the time because it's my own inspiration, of chapter 4, verse 10. It describes the process of devotional service as being long and slow, which in a lifetime means pretty much our lifetime. But in the perspective of eternality, as we are eternal spirit souls, it's millions of births it may take to obtain that perfection. Millions. And I want to add one thing. Pranahari Prabhu asked a question yesterday, and I thought of one other thing that is actually very shastric that I should have said, and described it but didn't say it. Rupa Goswami advises in the Nectar of Instruction patience, enthusiasm, and determination is the process of practicing Krishna consciousness and Bhakti Yoga. So all of that applies very specifically to how we become Krishna conscious, how we advance. We step onto this path, don't step off of it, simple enough. But every day we have to be both enthusiastic and determined to advance in Krishna consciousness, and patient enough to accept that, well, maybe it'll happen tomorrow. If it didn't happen today.
We're way over time, if you could.
Yeah, well, nobody's moving. And anyway, I'm that is the end of what I wanted to say, but I just wanted to add that to what I had said yesterday, because we were dealing with this. That's why I told you that I like this verse so much. It really caps off the whole whole lead up into this. And so, yeah, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. So when we're ready, at the time that we actually are ready to have that relationship, the Lord will come to us, and we don't have to rush this relationship with a guru, or make something happen that you're not ready for. But, anyway, I wish we could take more, but we have to end now. So, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, all the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Vanchakalpatrubhischa kripa sindhu vyevacha patitanam pavinyebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Mm-hmm.
They distribute a lot of books. They travel all the time, so they're all around.
I met them in Denver, I think.
They